Hello everybody, Grant Keene here again, and as you can see from the signs next to me, I will be talking about annexation. I know so many people have been waiting to hear what's going on with the annexation since the big meeting we had back a couple months ago. Prior to that, I have to talk to you about something else though, and I made some notes here so I don't miss anything, so bear with me. The first thing I guess I want to say is the hardest, most impossible task I think it must be in the whole world is to try to keep the truth hidden. The Bible says you can't do that, that everything's going to come out. Every word that's said is going to come out in the end. And for someone to try to keep the truth hidden, we all know it. You always get caught. You know it as a child. We know it in the news all the time. You know it as an adult. The best practice is just to stick with the truth because that's what's going to be revealed. And if you're going to lie, you're going to be seen as a liar. So don't lie. But that said, still, all the time, mankind just continues to lie and cover and twist and spin the truth. So, with that in mind, let me just recount some things that have happened over the past, about a year and a half that has led us to this point. It's been actually going on about 13 years that led us to this point with this annexation. For the past year and a half, just to make the point I want to make at the end. So a year ago, this past winter, I don't know if many of you saw it. I have it listed on my Facebook page. You're welcome to go there. You can also find it, at least you could find it. I don't know once I make this video if it'll be there anymore. I basically gave a state of the utilities department address. A year ago, February, I think it was, when Mayor Hall came into office, he thought it would be a good idea that everyone, all the department heads, would talk about their department and what's going on in their department. And so he asked me, and I thought that was a very good idea, and he asked me to do that. And so I did it a year ago, February, behind City Hall there, off the loading dock, and I told the truth of what was going on with our water department. And go back and watch that. It's truthful, but it's a bleak picture. We were a water department in trouble because the city kept taking money from the water department to spend on making the town trendy. I talked about that in my State of Walhalla 2024 this past January. You can go watch that video. I talked about how that is done, trying to make this town trendy has brought it to the brink of collapse. So I talked about it honestly then in the video. I told the condition of the utility department and what it had to do, what was ahead. I didn't want to discourage people. I just wanted them to understand what we're facing and how we were going to have to make the deep cuts and get this to work. At that time, I had hoped that the incoming council, Mayor Hall, and the councilman that came in with would make those cuts. Well, as a result of that video, I was never asked to make a video again for the city, and come up to this past January, I was removed as the chair over the utility department. I'm still on the utility department, but I'm not chair. I no longer can call a meeting for the utility department and run those meetings. So that was that video. If you want to go back and watch that, that was a year ago this past January. Well then, at this time last year, we went through our budget. We were making the budget for this the coming year, the year we're in right now. And once again, I was disheartened to see, but the council went to the water department to take money again from the water department to use for the city's use. Even though we're having all these line breaks, we're having brown water, we're having all this going on all over the city, and our water department needs it so desperately, like I said in the first video, undermanned, under-equipped, underpaid, but still, the city The new council decided to take the money and use it for the city and for things that weren't even in the city. Things beyond it, things like the museums, things like facade grants on Main Street. Of course, we all know about how the money was used for the Greenway, and before that, there was money used in the streetscape. It just continued, nothing changed. And then we came to this past summer, and Scott Paris, who was utility director at that time, and I've talked extensively about how that went down, about how Scott came to leave the city. Scott being an expert of everything, not just city, but county-wise. I went on that. I don't need to probably convince anybody about how he was worth his weight in gold. Well, I was ignored. What I said, he had been being ignored for years and years about warning of the desperate state of the utility department, mostly the infrastructure for water and whatnot. So it came to the point where Scott kept trying to speak up more and more. He kept being shut down, wasn't allowed to speak, until finally he spoke up forcefully at one meeting where a councilman had said something that he said that was wrong. It was a lie. Scott knew it was a lie. It was a lie to try to get what they wanted, so Scott wouldn't be heard. Scott spoke up about that. He was called down about it from the mayor, and then the next day he was disciplined by the city administrator. At that time, Scott called me and he said, "Grant, they're not going to listen to me. They're not going to ever let me tell the truth. Even though he's the expert, they're not going to let me speak." And so he goes, "I just think I need to go." And we talked about that without even having a place to go, giving up in his mind what he thought was 22 years of work for a state, giving up a state retirement. So bad was it, so discouraged he was, that he left. And of course we know how it all worked out, even before his last day, because he put in his 2 weeks. He was picked up by Westminster, and he never missed a day over there working for Westminster, and it's just been great for him. Not so great for us. But anyhow, so we went looking for a new utility director. And come this past fall, October of this past fall, they thought they'd found somebody to do the job. His name's Laramie Hinkle. I was asked if I would like to be part of the interview and whatnot of Laramie. I said no. If Zane's content with this man, Zane is the second in charge of the utility department, does a wonderful job. If Zane's content with this man, I'm content with this man. I figured I need to stay as far away from that as possible so no one can start accusing the new man that I corrupted him with my negativism or whatnot. So Laramie was hired. I didn't approach him, very little to do with him, and he didn't approach me much. Just we met each other, anything you need, pleasantries, that's how it was. And we just went on. Find out later, he was told, warned off me, don't drink the Kool-Aid that Grant's selling. They warned him, I'm a troublemaker, stay away. So it worked out that we really didn't have much to do with each other. Well, that came up then to this past winter. And Laramie's learning what's going on in the city. And he's paying attention. And he's a smart guy. He's not going to get this job without being a smart guy, without knowing what's going on. And he's a smart guy, and he looks around, and I now understand now, during this time, he's starting to discover, oh my, we're in big trouble as a utility department here. And it's because the city keeps taking the money to fund its projects, to fund all the things that it should be watching its cost on, but they keep taking the money and scrimping on the utility department. So it comes up now to this spring. It's budget time. Laramie is asked to give his budget, turn in his budget. Laramie knows the city's in tough shape. Little city, we're counting pennies here. He does not ask for what he wants. He asks for what he needs. He puts in that, it's given back, you're gonna have to cut. I think that happened twice. You're gonna have to cut. Finally, the second time, you're gonna have to cut 10% in like water plant, 10% in water crew, 10% in sewer crew. He's already cut, he's already bare bones, 16% in water billing, and he just threw up his hands and he said, you won't have a water department if I do this. We can't run. If I sign and say that I will do that, then I'm responsible when this place fails, because it will fail. I didn't know all this at the time, but I've since learned what he said. So finally he just said to the administrator and to the chairman of finance, cut what you want, just do what you want, but I can't cut it anymore. Just do what you want. Well, it was about that time, going on 3 weeks ago, that Laramie wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to the mayor, all of council, all the department heads. And in this letter, he just basically said, look, if this utility department, if the water department goes under, if they cut any more, it's going to go under. If they keep taking the money from it, it's going to go under. I can't keep parts on the shelf. There's a lot of things. He gave us a whole packet. He followed up with a whole packet supporting everything. He's not saying anything different than Scott Paris wasn't saying. It's just now he doesn't have 22 years on the line, and he's just saying it. And so he just said it, and he said, if we don't do this, it's going to fail. And if it fails, the city will collapse. I've been saying that. Scott had been saying that. Now Laramie is saying that. The problem is, when you're trying to keep the truth hidden, you can't keep firing the directors of the utility department. So the council has a rough time. They didn't fire Scott Paris, but you can't keep driving them off. And so they got a dilemma. What do you do? Now even the department heads have seen this letter. Not just council, not just the mayor. What do you do? Well, you know what council did? They ignored it. They pretended it never happened. Laramie came to the water department, which I'm on, but I'm not the chairman. I can no longer call the meeting. He said, Grant, we need to have a meeting. We need to talk about this. This is serious. I said, he found a willing ear with me. We found out now. He found out, this past winter. I found out through Scott Paris showing me things back when. Scott has known for years and years. Now we're all on board, but we can't do anything about making it come out to get the council to address it. You're gonna have to talk to Kenny Johns. He's the chairman. I asked Kenny, we need a meeting. Call a meeting. I don't see a need for a meeting. Really. He asked his department chairman, Mr. Chairman, would you please call the meeting? We have to talk about this. Same response. I then go to Sarai Melendez. She's on the committee. 2 committee members, the majority of the committee, can call the meeting. Will you do it? I got slow walked. Laramie asked. He got slow walked. We're still waiting. But the committee meeting day passes. That's last Tuesday. it passes. And here, the most important thing to talk about in the city among the department heads, and Laramie is standing in the back of the room with no voice. What do? Can't do anything. You sit there. I bring it to the attention in the agenda. We ought to be having a utility department meeting right now, but it wasn't called. They ignore me, they move on. Well, what was called on that day? And remember what I said about the most hardest thing in the world is to keep the truth hidden? Well, what I didn't expect, what Laramie didn't expect, what we knew was coming is the auditor was due to present the audit, not from this year, but from the year ending last June. June 2024, the year that ended there, started in July 2023, goes through June 2024, and he's there looking at our books, basically, just to make sure all the accounting practices were up to speed. There's no monkey business going on. Everything goes according to the law. They don't go much, generally, the auditor does not go much in to how you ought to be running your town. That's not their business to tell you what you should be doing for the town. But lo and behold, an auditor that I'd never seen before in my life, that Laramie had never seen before in our life, that we knew nothing of. He comes in to present the audit. He said everything's up to snuff, all the right procedures happened. Your general fund is looking good, but your fund is looking good because you have a big gift for a community center put in there. You know, we got, what is it? $5 million for a community center that's sitting there. And he goes, that makes things look good. But the general fund, even apart from that, is doing it. In fact, he even said it's excellent. It looks excellent. You've got money on hand now this isn't now. This was back last June. You've got money on hand. Now I remember, I've been telling people for 2 years, it's going to be this budget that they're not going to be able to fund things. For 2 years. Tyler knew that when he was here. I knew that. Brandon, our old administrator, knew that. The whole council should have known that it was going to be this budget this year where everything was going to fall apart. So this guy's talking back when we still had COVID money that we're spending and whatnot. And he says, the general fund looks excellent. And then here's where you can't keep the truth hidden. Why this guy ventured in there, past auditors generally don't venture in to say this, but it so showed up that he said, but now your utilities department, your enterprise fund, he said, that there only has, if something big goes on, it only has half a month's worth of money. So if something big happens, it only can survive for less than 30 days, half a month. And he said the reason for that is because the general fund, you all have decided, and he was very nice about it for whatever reasons, you all have decided to take the money from the utility department and put it in the general fund. Here are his exact words. The general fund, this is the auditor, quote, the general fund owes the water fund approximately $6 million. Did you hear that? The general fund owes the water fund approximately $6 million. You can't keep the truth hidden. No matter how hard the spinning has gone on, saying that we are nuts, no matter how you can, basically treat a man so poorly that he'd give up his retirement and leave. No matter how much You can lean on employees so they don't speak up. The truth still comes out. And praise God, he sends this auditor, independent auditor that no one knows can do anything about, and he puts his finger right on the button just from looking at the money. So you might be wondering, well, Grant, I want to know about annexation. I want to know what's going on. I want to know about these signs you have going here. What does that have to do about all this? Well, this is what it has to do about all this. Despite the liberal establishment, and I know they're out there talking because I hear it, despite the liberal establishment telling you that everything's just fine, despite the mayor keep painting me in the media, in articles in the paper, in social media, as just a nut job and with his family spreading lies across the city, despite how much lipstick is put on the pig, not only is the utility department in desperate shape, but the fire department is looking to lose personnel. We're looking to lose firemen. And they're wanting to blame that all on the fire contract. We wouldn't even need the fire contract if we managed the money right. But yeah, do we need a fire contract now? Oh, do we need the county to bail us out? Oh my, do we need the county to bail us out because of our mismanagement of money? So not only are we going to lose firemen, which means your insurance is going to go crazy, folks here in Walhalla, possibly doubling. We only will wait and see. Not only is the water department in danger, not only are we going to lose firemen, we're going to lose policemen too. And you know what? That's just in the current budget they're trying to develop right now. Folks, it is May. We just got the budget Tuesday. Normally, we just had the first workshop Tuesday. Normally, we're doing that in January and February. You know why we're not doing that now? Because there's no way. I'm looking at this budget. I've gone over this budget. I've spent days on this budget, and there's no way. There is no way. What Laramie found out back earlier in the spring when they're asking him to cut, now I've seen. It's just not water. It's fire. It's police. In fact, the only thing that looks good is PRT. The tourist part. The tourist part, I think we're giving more money to the tourist part. Is that really what you want in the city? Fire policemen, firemen, and let's give the tourist part more money? Really? Anyhow, how does it relate? This is the shape we're in. And the answer they have for the shape we're in, this is what this current council and this current mayor has. The answer for the shape we're in: take your neighbor's money. That's the best answer they have. Go get your neighbor's money. Can you imagine doing that? Can you imagine being there? You are living frugally, living in a budget, just trying your best, driving the old cars, just eating simply, not going out, camping, for a couple weekends here and there so you can show your kids a holiday. And then you watch your neighbor over there, and he's spending the high dollar, going on the high dollar vacations. He's got the fancy truck. He's got the sports car sitting in the garage over there. You know he's in hock up to his eyeballs. But you're like, hey, you're going to look out for your neighbor? Sure. You're not going to judge him. He lives his life. You're going to live your life. And then all of a sudden, the debt collector comes to his house one day and says, hey, I need the money, or I'm taking a sports car. I'm taking the truck. Your house is going to be put up for auction on the courthouse steps. And what's your neighbor do? He comes by and says, hey, I'm going to take your money to pay my needs. Not only that, I'm going to take your rights. I'm going to put a fence on. I'm going to use some of your yard, some of your property for what I need. You think that's far-fetched? That's what this annexation is about. They want you in the city so they can get maybe not your money right now, maybe not your kids' money. They say, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're not going to take your money. We're not going to take your kids' money. Your grandkids. And not only that, you're now in the city. And you have to obey the city's rules. And they're going to zone you, oh, don't worry, we won't apply those. Trust us. We won't apply those rules to you. Are you kidding me? People will do this to their employees, will do this to the people that elected them. You trust them? I can't trust them. I don't trust them. I don't know how you could trust them. So anyhow, here's what's going on. These signs right here on my right and my left. This Saturday, people are going to meet here at my house. And I tell you, we need your help. We need scores of people. We got 1,000 signs. And we need scores of people to come help. And you know where the signs need to go? They don't need to go all over the county. Oh, I could have got 10,000 signs and put them out in the county. But they need to go in Walhalla. People in Walhalla need to put these signs up in their yard because they need to stand up for their neighbors. They need to say it's wrong because of how the people we elected have handled our money. It is wrong to go outside the city limits and take our neighbor's money. So we need people to come. You can see up here, it's this Saturday. Rain or shine. We're going to meet here at 10 o'clock. You can come at 11, 12, 1, 2, 4, 6. As long as it's daylight, come on, whatever you're doing. We'll have it worked out, and people are going to be going up and down the streets and just knocking on people's doors and saying, will you help us? Will you put that sign in your yard that says no annex? Vote. Let the council know. Let them know that it's people that vote for them in the city. Not just the people out of the city, but people in the city that don't appreciate this, that fear God too. They want to do what's right and wrong. And they say, oh, it'll help you. It'll help those in the city. I'm here, I'm elected to help those in the city. Hey, if you're elected to tromp on the rights and oppress your neighbors, you ought to quit. And if you buy that hey, it's going to help me in the city, well then, man, I hope you move out. Because we don't want neighbors like that. But I know you're different. Because I've lived in the city and I know the working men of this city. And this is going to appall you, what they're doing. Do you have the courage? Do you have the courage to stand up to the liberal establishment, put a sign in your yard, and let the liberal establishment see those people that look down on you, that you've looked up to your whole life? Do you have the courage to put a sign like that that says, no annex, leave our neighbors alone? Do you have the courage? I hope you do. So there's all the information on the board. There's my address. It's going to be right out here in front, and we're just going to go from here. But let me leave you with this story. And you know this. I don't know if they teach it in school anymore because I've been kind of discouraged what happens in school anymore. But they should, and they should especially teach it in South Carolina. Because in the American Revolution, the British took Charleston, and they came up and they wreaked havoc. Every battle they fought with the Patriots, with the Colonials, with the South Carolinians, they won. They beat us, and they beat us, and they beat us, and they beat us. They wintered in Camden down there, and then they kept coming. and they were heading for Charlotte. And there were some inklings up over in the mountains, up over across the mountains in what now is called Tennessee. There were some inklings that maybe some of those mountain people would come over and help the colonials in the colony over here of South Carolina. So they sent a British officer over there, and they told him, look, if you got any inkling to get involved in this, you better be careful, because I'll come back here and I will stretch your necks and I will destroy your homes and your villages. That's what happened. These people over the mountains did not have a dog in this fight. Just like the people of Walhalla don't have a dog in this fight. They already are under the restrictions. They already are paying the extra taxes. They don't have a dog in this fight. But those people across those mountains that didn't have what the people on this side had, they said, because they knew if Britain stays in charge and they get to win this war and they keep pressing it down on the colonies, they're going to be next. And you know what they did? They crossed those mountains. They got together. They crossed those mountains. They went looking for Cornwallis. And they met Ferguson, was the British commander of this small army that was just protecting Cornwallis's flank. And they met him on King's Mountain. And we're free. I need your help. I need your help. Please help. Walhallans, help your neighbors. Because you know what? The desperate situation we're in, you're going to need the county to help us. You're going to need them to help us. So I don't care where you live. Come Saturday, 10 o'clock, whether you live in town or out of town. But let's scour this town and let these people know what's right and what's wrong. And we're not going to put up with wrongdoing anymore. Thank you very much. Goodbye.